Hello classy people, this is Josh the Top Hat Gamer, and this week I'm reviewing WWE 2K17. I'm a wrestling fan, and as such you'll never not see me playing the latest entry in WWE's annual series. Last year's addition to the franchise made a few steps in the right direction, but stopped just shy of excellence. Let's take a trip into Suplex City to find out if WWE 2K17 manages to pick up a win. Starting out on a somewhat sour note, WWE 2K17 does away with Showcase Mode, the game mode that had, in past games, served as the most story mode-esque offering available. As a result, the game's career mode is about as close to a story mode as 2K17 has to offer. It's here that you'll make your journey from NXT, the company's developmental brand, all the way through to your eventual induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. In all honesty, the career mode feels like a rehash of last year's offerings, save for the ability to become a Paul Heyman guy, added primarily to make use of this year's cover star, mayor of Suplex City, and dumb sword tattoo enthusiast, Brock Lesnar. If career mode offered some unique storylines to put your character through, then I could honestly sink a lot of hours into it, but as it stands, it pales in comparison to the game's more in-depth universe mode, and after a while it feels like a slog, as earning titles and getting into rivalries feels equal parts repetitive and unpredictably random. As I mentioned, 2K17's Universe mode feels like a far more complete package, and offers you more control over the rivalries and matches that happen than the lackluster career mode. Building and customizing your own shows, or simply directing the course of the current WWE shows is simple and fun, and you're given a surprising amount of options when you're customizing the week-to-week events, from changing the participants and match types from the defaults, to inserting new promo sections between matches to build up and modify certain superstars' personalities without needing to have them compete. When it actually comes to competing, the core gameplay feels just slightly faster and more responsive than last year's entry, and there are plenty of new features to make even the most basic match types more interesting. It feels like the intention behind this year's game is to make every match feel like one that you might see on TV, and as such, wrestlers appear to wear down a little less quickly than in previous years. Even the game's reversal system is far more forgiving, allowing for big shifts in momentum at a moment's notice, especially considering that performing one of the game's harder reversals will gift you with a damage buff, and debuff your opponent so they're unable to reverse your moves for a short time. Additionally, implementing taunting into gameplay beyond the usual momentum boost used to earn a finisher more quickly is a really good way of actually getting players to taunt like performers would in real life. The effects of these taunts can buff your damage output as well as increase the amount of momentum that moves will reward you with. On top of the new buff system, you're now able to taunt from practically anywhere in the ring, be it on the turnbuckle, on the apron, or even standing near the corner. Multi-person matches such as triple threats or fatal four-ways are also given an overhaul, and the result is a far more enjoyable, if slightly more difficult to win, experience. In previous games, these multi-person matches would become a bit of a mess when you had bodies sprawled all over the ring, but now, much like in the actual show, a big power move has the potential to send an opponent out of the ring to recover, allowing for a much cleaner, truer-to-life experience. The only problem here is that it's incredibly easy to lose the match if you find yourself knocked outside the ring, but you are able to come back prematurely if you're willing to wear a debuff that comes with it. Table and ladder matches also feel a bit more thought out than previous iterations. Putting someone through a table requires you to either attack them with a table to gain table momentum, or requires you to spend a stored finisher instead. Ladder matches, on the other hand, feature an entirely new lockpick-esque minigame that requires a lot more effort to win, rather than the old hold right stick up until the game tells you to pull system. Being attacked while you attempt to grab the prize is less dangerous too, as you won't immediately let go and become vulnerable. Instead, your grab meter will shake and it will be simply harder to win. Even knocking ladders down requires you to mash a button rather than simply walking up to it and pushing it over. You're even able to take the fight outside the ring and into the crowd for the first time in ages. These situations often devolve into simple brawls, but the dynamic camera changes and new lighting effects help make them seem more exciting than they really are. Hell, you can even take these brawls backstage, making every no disqualification match incredibly unpredictable. Aside from these additional mechanics, the core wrestling works more or less the same, and with the occasional hilarious bug notwithstanding, it makes for an immersive experience that feels almost like you're watching a weekly episode of Raw or SmackDown. Wrestling shows aren't just about the in-ring competition, however, and as such, 2K17 does add a promo engine to its growing list of available mechanics. While the idea of turning one of the talking sections of a wrestling show into a minigame does sound like a good idea on paper, it doesn't really turn out that well. You're asked to generate your promo on the fly using 4 preset dialogue options at each break in your speech, but these options are fairly vague, and while it may seem easy to figure out what options are good or bad, the effect these options has on the crowds is rarely consistent, and the varied attitudes of the audience week to week makes it hard to perform a good promo and create a consistent personality. Lastly, there's not a whole lot of dialogue options to choose from, which makes the entire mechanic get old real fast. Fortunately, WWE 2K17 does have a lot to offer besides its solid simulation-style mechanics and its less than ideal promo engine. The creation suite is ridiculously extensive, from the plentiful clothing and deformation options found in the Superstar Creation feature, to the ability to create your own entrance video using saved highlight clips from matches, as well as the usual title, show, and entrance creation features. As always, the ability to download other people's creations means that if you're creatively challenged like I am, you can still play as the latest indie wrestlers or fictional characters, assuming someone has made them. Speaking of characters, the roster offers a great selection of competitors, from old school ring veterans such as Triple H and The Undertaker, to newer superstars like Kevin Owens and AJ Styles. Thankfully, the same mistake wasn't made 2 years in a row, and 2K17 easily has the best women's roster in a video game to date, featuring current NXT Women's Champion Asuka, as well as the 4 horsewomen who are absent from last year's entry. The only real problem I see with the roster is that you need to purchase locked wrestlers using the same currency that you'll spend upgrading your career mode character. It's so dumb. Honestly, I'd almost recommend ignoring career mode altogether, if only to unlock the fantastic roster as quickly as possible. With that said, WWE 2K17's roster looks absolutely fantastic this year, with the majority of in-game models looking pretty accurate, though there are a couple of characters who definitely look better than the rest. Part of what makes 2K17 look so damn good is its new lighting system, which isn't that noticeable for the most part, until you play a match in the middle of the day in the game's only outdoor arena. It is absolutely stunning. The game's presentation as a whole looks a lot more sleek, with a nice clean UI that features character models strutting their stuff and posing in the smoky void that is the main menu. Hell, even the switch from character portraits to in-game models makes using custom characters feel a lot less out of place alongside the expertly modeled superstars on offer. Add to that the effort put into making Universe Mode feel like watching a weekly show complete with intro themes and videos, as well as the always epic work done by WWE's video package team, and you have one of the best looking, if not the best looking, wrestling game ever released. It's just a shame then that the audio design isn't up to the same high quality. The soundtrack is a measly handful of songs, with only 1 or 2 of them really fitting the whole over-the-top action vibe of the wrestling scene, and the in-game commentary continues to be pretty bland. It's a shame because within the WWE's commentary teams you have a few guys who are really talented, but being stuck with Michael Cole, JBL and Jerry the King Lawler incessantly babbling on and on is apparently all we're allowed. On top of that, the occasional awkward pause or glitched out line of commentary only serves to make things worse. As a whole, WWE 2K17 feels like another little step in the right direction in terms of core game mechanics and presentation, but the removal of one of the 3 core modes from previous iterations, as well as the constant, if hilarious, bugs and glitches that occur, once again keep the 2K wrestling games from really making an impact. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the effort made in the pursuit of making each match feel like the product you'd watch on TV, but there's still work to be done if the series is ever going to claim the gold. WWE 2K17 gets the top gamer rating of good. Like I said, there's a lot to love here, even if you're not really feeling the game's career mode or promo mechanics like I wasn't. Wrestling fans should definitely check this out, but only if you don't go in expecting a new arcade-style wrestling game. It simply isn't that. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the review informative. If you missed last week's review on Darkest Dungeon, or my list of the top 5 best narrators in games, click the annotations. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go suplex some jobbers.